Begin in Boston, where the Celtics continue to ship off parts. They have agreed to trade Celtics Porzingis to Atlanta, part of a 3-team deal with Brooklyn. The Celtics get George Niang and a second-round pick, but much more important than that, they get significant salary relief. This is all about dumping money. 10 days ago, the Boston Celtics were projected to pay $540 million in salary and luxury tax. According to our Bobby Marks, who has a calculator, with this Porzingis trade and the Drew Holiday trade they made 2 days ago, the Celtics have saved $260 million and will have a combined bill under $300 million. All of those are things that are important to the teams and very uninteresting to basketball fans. They don't want to hear about the money. They want to hear about the teams. We knew that Holiday was going to get traded. You told me that Porzingis was going to get traded. The question is, are they done?
So this is one of the things that could define today in the NBA. Now that they've made these deals, they are under the second apron. That, if that is their goal, congratulations. But they are still listening. And this is where the rest of the league is watching. They are listening on Jaylen Brown. They are listening on Derek White. I would be surprised at this point if they move them, but today is draft day. There are teams in the top 10 that would very much like to get their hands on one of these players. Is there an opportunity for the Celtics to move in and get a player in the draft that they think that they could reform their team around when Jason Tatum comes back? My answer is maybe. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening. So I think Jaylen Brown is staying put. I think Derek White is staying put, but I can't rule out stuff that might happen by the end of today.
Well, that brings me to my Uncle Seth, because we know Cooper Flagg is off limits. He's not going anywhere, except Dallas, where he will get drafted tonight. Is there, in your opinion, another player in this draft that would be, you think has a chance to be so good that it would make sense for the Celtics to include Jaylen Brown in a package to move up?
If there's one player, it would be Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper at 6'6". You're talking about a guy terrific in ball screens, big physical guard, gets downhill. Reminds me of Cade Cunningham. His physicality, his toughness, his ability to finish around the basket, but more importantly, his ability to make game easy for other people. This guy's got size, strength. He's got a genetics that's all about championships. He has a toughness about him, extremely coachable. Got to shoot a little bit better, but I think that Dylan Harper is a guy that you can say, I would not move off of Brown and White. I wouldn't, because I think those guys are winning players that understand the culture of the Celtics. But if you were going to move on, you need to bring in a guy that understands what it takes to win. And his pedigree says championship pedigree.
It is a time of just total upheaval in Boston. The franchise has been sold. The superstar is out for the year, or for all of next year, we presume, with the torn Achilles. So we're really in a total turnover here. So, Markeith, I'll just ask you this. If at some point today you receive an alert on your phone that says the Boston Celtics have traded Jaylen Brown, what will be the first thoughts that go through your mind?
I would be in awe, right? Because this is a guy that won Finals MVP last year. This is a guy that just signed a $300 million contract, and you put so much into this guy, right, to be a Boston Celtic, right? And just by Tatum getting injured, I don't really see the process of moving him around, right? You just let him get better, like I've been saying. You know, let him grow into a 1A type of player. Let him have the year where he's actually the go-to guy and the team is about him, right? And then the pieces that you bring in, let them pieces mold to be ready when Tatum has come back, because you get a good look at, you know, all the pieces that you bring in, because nobody's most likely going to be under contract the next year, the following year.
Right. There's so much of this is about the money, right? And that's the big unknown. It's new ownership coming in. So there's that kind of overturning, or whatever the word I'm looking for is. So we don't really know. You said it yourself. Did they just want to get under this second apron, which are now the two nastiest words in all of basketball? If so, then they don't have an issue. But if they really want to restart this whole thing, this could be interesting.
They also could make other moves to get under the luxury tax altogether. And it's not just necessarily about saving money, although that's what is being accomplished. If they get out of the luxury tax, then they restart the clock on the repeater tax. And I hate talking about all this stuff, but this, this is what's driving these moves.
Right.
I mean, the second apron needs a new name. I am proposing Satan's Jail. I think we should start calling it Satan's Jail. If you have something else, it feels different. If you say the Celtics are in Satan's Jail, it sounds like, wow, they really got to trade Kristaps Porzingis. So you get out of Satan's Jail, and now you got to question, Do they want to stay out of Satan's jail? Because if you have two players on your roster that make $300 million contracts, which is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, can you field a competitive championship-level team in 2026? I don't know if the answer to that is yes, because of the way the league is changing.
I just don't understand. If you're going to have Tatum and Brown and eventually they're going to be healthy together, you know you've competed for an NBA championship with those two guys. They're only going to get better. I mean, that's just the way it is. You need to say, look at it, say, all right, we're going to take our lumps right now, but that's short term. Where is the big picture? And as a guy that roster construction is so important, whether it's in college or in NBA, you put together a roster, if you can have those two guys as the face of your organization, it's easier to find guys to fit around him than to eliminate one guy that has already won an NBA championship and is a matchup problem and has learned to play with another star player.
And I think you're right, and that's why I think they don't do it. But I would be inaccurate if I said it wasn't something that was being discussed in the league.
Harper is good, though.
Let me tell you who is in Satan's jail right now. The fans of the Denver Nuggets.
The second apron needs a new name. I am proposing Satan's jail. Say the Celtics are in Satan's jail, it sounds like, wow, they really got to trade Kristaps Porzingis. You know, we're really trying to avoid Satan's jail.
Yeah.
Because if we get into Satan's jail,
right,
we might have to trade number 15. People would think about this differently. Well, do you want to call it second apron? Or do you want to call it Satan's jail? You want to give me another name I can use? That's fine.
Ah, the wingman. But the second apron needs a new name.
Greenie, nobody smiles in Satan's jail.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
right. Teams go to die.
And there are some teams that are there right now, like the last two NBA champions before this one, the Celtics and the Nuggets. And let's talk about both of them because they're both very much in the news as we begin another hour of Get Up. The Celtics yesterday traded Kristaps Porzingis to Atlanta. It's a three-team deal that involves the Brooklyn Nets. It's not a surprise. We knew they were going to trade away Drew Holiday, which they did, and then Porzingis, which they did. Why did they do those things? Because 10 days ago, the Celtics were in Satan's jail. They were projected to pay $540 million in salary and luxury tax. According to our Bobby Marks, with the trades that they made in the last 2 days, they've saved $260 million, and they will have a combined tax bill under $300 million. And I agree with you, all kidding aside, the terminology, all these rules they've put in, while I think they are working, are extremely complicated. Let's not go through them. Let's ask the stuff basketball fans care about. Do they still have trades to make here, particularly their superstar?
Probably the biggest question on the league's mind today, because they are now out of the second apron jail, whatever you want to call it. But will they want to get under the luxury tax? They have reasons to do that. And today is draft day. There are teams in the top 10 that are interested in making offers for Jaylen Brown. Will the Celtics entertain them? Is there somebody at the top of the draft that they would consider enough that they would do it? All I can say right now is the Celtics are listening. If you call the Celtics with a trade offer, you're not going to get hung up on. I am very skeptical that they will trade Jaylen Brown because they have accomplished their primary goal, which is to get out of the second apron and retain Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White. But today is the day to make an offer, and that's what we're going to be watching.
So for the folks who are wondering, is there a player in this draft good enough that it would be worth considering trading Jaylen Brown, especially considering Cooper Flagg is not on the market? That's not going to be an option. I have the perfect person here to ask that question to, my uncle Seth Greenberg, no relation. Is there a player in this draft that's that kind of good?
I wouldn't do this, but Dylan Harper is potentially that type of kind of good. I mean, you're talking about a 6'6" guard, terrific in ball screen, sees over the defense, the pedigree he comes with. All right, he understands what it takes to win a championship. He's got a toughness, a physicality, a versatility. He's a terrific finisher at the rim. He needs to shoot it a little bit more consistently, but he has the identity and the DNA of a Celtic player, a guy that you can build with a Jason Tatum. Now, here's my deal. You've already proven Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum can deliver you a NBA championship. That, to me, makes no sense. I understand $300 million. No, I don't understand $300 million.
Right.
But it's a lot of money. I understand that in terms of the ability and not wanting to get. Where are we going to? Satan's what?
Satan's jail.
Want to stay out of it. We're staying out of it.
Stay out of it. So I understand that. But when you have those three guys together, you have a culture and an identity that is championship caliber. I can't imagine Brad Stevens moving away from that as much as culture means to him.
So, Markieff Morris, if at some point today you receive an ESPN alert on your phone that says Shams is reporting the Boston Celtics have traded Jaylen Brown. What words will come out of your mouth?
It would probably be, what the helly? Because Jaylen Brown, they are a year removed from winning the championship, right? I mean, obviously they let it be known even before the playoffs that they were getting rid of some of these pieces and getting under the salary cap. So, I mean, they're doing the right thing. Brad Stevens always been a mastermind when it comes to these things, and they're getting pieces to see how it worked with Jason Tatum, right? Because to be honest, they will compete in the East, but they can't win a championship without one of their best players. So this is a time for Jaylen Brown to come into his own right. He's already been a good player in this league. It's now time for him to take the step and be a 1A, lead some of these guys and really get a good look at these guys and see what it looks like when Jason Tatum come back the following year.
I've said it before. It reminds me of 1994. Michael Jordan went off to play baseball. People thought the Bulls should just break up. Scottie Pippen, I will go to my grave saying, should have been the MVP of the league that year. He showed just how good he was. Maybe Jaylen Brown can do the same thing in Boston if they don't trade him. Now, the Celtics are not the only recent champion being affected. The Hawks, the Celtics, and the Nets agreed to a 3-team deal yesterday that sees Boston trade away Kristaps Porzingis. It was very simple. They did that, and they traded away Drew Holiday to get out of the second apron, and they've accomplished that. There's a big part of the audience, Wendy, that is joining us now here, getting set for First Take and everything else. They haven't heard you on this. Are the Celtics done? Is Jaylen Brown in play?
Maybe is the answer. They got out of the second apron. They shaved over $200 million off, but they are not out of the luxury tax. And if that is a priority for this team, that is something that they're going to have to keep looking at cutting their roster. Jaylen Brown has been an untouchable player in recent years. If you wanted him, you could call the Celtics. You would not get a return call. That is no longer the case. They are listening. With the draft tonight and several teams with high picks potentially willing to make offers, this is the time to make one for Jaylen Brown. Do I think they're actually going to trade him or Derek White? I am highly skeptical of that. Are you getting hung up on? You are not. So let's watch and find out how motivated the Celtics are.
Markeith, I mean, this would be just breaking it all down to the studs, right? If you're going to tear it down, you're going to say we're going to be without Tatum next year, so we don't think we can win the title. September of 2026 feels like a million years off. Let's tear it down to the studs and we'll start over again next year building around the one superstar. What would you say if they do that?
I would say it just doesn't line up with Jason Tatum where he's at in his career, right? He's going to have 1 year off. So, I mean, breaking the whole team down and pulling a brand new team around him and then expecting what expectations he might want to not be there with a young team. So I wouldn't say that. I would just say, continue to get under the salary cap as much as you can and be under the second apron and then bring some guys in that you think possibly could play on the team in 2026. But I do know they want to be contending. I do know this is not like a 3-year thing where they're going to be bad. So you want to keep it around your older superstar players in 27 and 28 and build around that.
Wendy, to be clear, they knew this was coming. They were probably going to do this either way. They were just hoping they would get 2 titles out of it before they had to break it up.
Yes, and I just want to point out, it's not a commentary on the Jays together. It's a question that you have to ask yourself as an organization. In this era, can you win championships and compete for championships when 2 players are earning $110 million combined? Because that's the reality of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum going forward. And is there another way to do it? There might not be. Coach, you might be right. Those 3 players, you stick together, run it back, fill in with other guys. But this is the moment where you evaluate that. This is the moment where you might be able to draft a player that you like to replace him.
Because we're in a new league. We'll show it to you again. This is the most remarkable statistic I have seen in sports today and maybe longer than today. In the 30 years that David Stern, who completely remade the NBA, in the 30 years he was commissioner, 8 different teams won the title. In the 10 years that Adam Silver has been in that chair, the same number of teams have won the title and an unprecedented 7 consecutive seasons right now with a new champion. So this is a new league, Seth. And my question for you as a basketball lifer, as a kid who grew up going to the Garden when you were a little kid, back in the...
Willis come out.
A long time ago. Here comes Willis. Is this better? Is this a better way? Would you rather have 8 teams win it in 30 years or 8 teams win it in 10 years?
No, this is much better. This is better because everyone needs to have an opportunity to compete. These guys are not opponents. They're in it to compete and win championships just like everyone else. This is not a 6-team league, an 8-team league. This is a 30-team league. And if you're going to own a team and if you're going to have a fan base, then you need to invest. And this gives everyone an opportunity to compete at the highest level. And what it does, it changes the model of putting together your team, your roster construction. And right now we're seeing in Brooklyn's collecting those draft picks. Well, who collected a bunch of draft picks? Oklahoma City. So you've got to do a good job with your draft and then save and collect draft picks so then you can use them for trades to get those missing pieces.
I agree with that, but you should be able to keep your guys if you get it right. You should be able to keep together Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, J-Dub, and Chet Holmgren. If you get them through the draft, or in the case of Shai, they traded for him when he was 20 years old, you should be able to keep that together.
And you can. What the second apron, what I call Satan's jail does, it doesn't just cost you money. There's a lot of NBA owners who are very rich. They can pay the money. It puts you in handcuffs, okay? And when you see trades, when you see a team trade a player to save money, you say, all they did was save money? No, they got out of jail.
Yeah.
They got out of jail. That's what is part of this going on.
How's it going, everybody? Villa Sports Network here. Just want to thank you guys for your support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Also want to kind of remind you to don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the video if you like as well. But regardless of the fact, thank you again for your support, and hope to see you on the next video.